I'm Kevin Coleman with Football Guys. On today's video, we're going to be going through the top 12 Dynasty wide receivers. We're going to be looking at rankings, so I'm going to rank them for you guys. We're going to be looking at tiers and just checking out, hey, where the tiers fall with these guys? Where can you kind of like, hey, tier up maybe or tier down and kind of collect some value? And then we're also going to be looking at some real actionable trades that have happened in Dynasty leagues so that it can help you kind of maneuver and see, hey, what can I move these guys for right now? Right now, Dynasty leagues are hot. They're good and crazy because of free agency. We have draft prep. We have all this stuff. So now is some fun time to make some moves. So we're going to give you real actionable trades to help you in your Dynasty leagues and go from there. So hang on while the intro is going. Make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, so we can get you guys more Dynasty content. All right, let's dive into it. So like I said, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be diving into tiers and where it comes from. So first tier here. So tier one, I don't think anybody's going to argue with this one. Well, this is YouTube, so someone might find an argument out there. But, you know, when you're looking at both these guys, Justin Jefferson, now how I kind of rank them is you'll see the tier, and then you'll see there like, hey, where they finished last year overall is where they have wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 11. And then next to it is points per game. And points per game overall is kind of a tough metric to look at when you're looking at kind of like, you know, where they fell. But overall, I think it's good to see how many points per game that they scored. I think people are going towards that. That's a smart way to kind of maneuver when you're looking at your assets. And you're looking at like elite guys that can score in the 20 and 18 points per game. That's where you're looking for. So I think both of these guys, it's pretty cut and dry that these guys are your best wide receivers in the league. It is really hard to get rid of guys like this off your roster. And I think in terms of tiers, like I always get questions from this. And as always, you can find me on Twitter and ask me questions like, hey, what do I give up for this? Like these guys are elite prospects. So we're going to try to give you an idea of like who people are trading them for and what their assets are like. But when you're just looking overall, I mean, there are, you know, Jamar was at 18.7. Only 3 other wide receivers finished ahead of him. That was Devontae, Tyreek, and Justin Jefferson for points per game, right? If Jamar was healthy this entire year, he probably would finish there. Obviously, he didn't play throughout. But then Justin Jefferson, full, you know, we know what he is, right? So if you're moving these guys, what does that look like? So let's kind of look and go through here. So again, actionable leagues, I want to give a shout out to DLF Trade Finder because this is where most of the trades you can find there from their database. Justin Jefferson for Godwin 103 and 203. So I saw this trade, thought it was interesting. Godwin is one of those buys for me. I think that he's kind of undervalued right now. But would you give up Justin Jefferson for Godwin? The 103 and the 203. So at the 103 right now, these are all super flex trades as well. You're looking at probably a quarterback, right? Or if you can get JSN. So like if you needed a quarterback and you're like, hey, I believe in like one of these guys, Stroud, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, I still don't think I would do it, right? Like, I think almost Justin Jefferson's almost untradeable. And I will say this, like, as we're going through these tiers, don't trade Justin Jefferson for a Godwin who's a wide receiver too, right? You're going to tier down, but you don't tier down that much. You want to tier down to like the 10, 11, 12 guys that we're going to get into, and maybe they can kind of be that top 5 guy moving forward in their careers. You don't tier down to a wide receiver too. On the other hand, you have this happens a lot. So I've been seeing this trade happen to all kinds. Jamar Chase for CeeDee Lamb and a 24 first. I like CeeDee Lamb, and I think CeeDee Lamb is an asset. So if you're not like one of those guys that like, if you feel like CeeDee Lamb, who, you know, when you're looking at CeeDee overall last year, he kind of popped off. He had 17.8 points per game. So he's right underneath Jamar Chase. He finished his wide receiver 6 in PPR format. So when you're looking at that overall, like that's pretty close with where Jamar was at, right? And then you get a 24 first added, and we're thinking Marvin Harrison Jr., Caleb Williams, those type of guys out of there. I don't hate this deal. I still like Jamar in this instance, but it kind of really comes down to team makeup. Let's say you're mid rebuild. Hey, I get a CD who I know is going to be a wide receiver 1 on his roster too, just like Chase, and I get to add that first that kind of have me some value. I thought it was interesting. That's why I wanted to show it to you guys and kind of share it. Now, when we go into the tier 2, so let's look at tier 2. I think there's 2 guys that really just fit this category, and that's really it. I think it's A.J. Brown. He finished as wide receiver 6 last year, 17.6 points per game. And in CD, right, 17.7 points per game. He is right there again, kind of with, you know, where you need to see him at. They both going forward, you know, we know what the Eagles are, high power offense. Devonta was still there and AJ still finished this high. CD's probably going to get some competition, but again, with the free agent market the way it is and the draft, I don't know what the Cowboys are going to do. So you realistically, CD should see the same target volume and everything is there. So these 2 guys for me in that tier 2, and just looking overall as age, like again, and you're going to go through age, you can go to Football Guys website. They actually have age listed, so you guys can kind of go through there. You know, the oldest guy of this this group is AJ. He's at 26 years old. So again, if you want to like maybe make the argument CeeDee should be ahead of AJ because of age, fine. They're in the same tier though. That's why we do tiers. We don't necessarily just do flat rankings, right? Now, when you're looking at deals that have happened, AJ Brown for Kenneth Walker and Brandon Cooks. Again, so I wanted to show you guys different type of deals that you can do. Now, again, you might have these guys, and I always hear this argument like, oh, that would never happen in my league. In my opinion, like if you have the assets, go out there and go get them, right? And the worst thing they could do is decline. You never know what they're going to accept, right? So if you have a need for running back, you feel like Kenneth Walker is a top 5 running back in Dynasty, and you're like, and you can add Brandon Cooks, and you kind of give away from AJ. Maybe again, AJ Brown was not getting valued the way that he should have last year. Now, if you read my spotlight from Footballguys, I said he would be like that, so I'm going to give myself a plug there. But most people didn't. So you might have AJ Brown with a very solid receiver core. Let's say your running back core is something that you want to work on. Now, I don't necessarily, give you advice to go buy running backs right now, but if you needed a top 5 guy, this is an option, right? And then you used to see, CeeDee on the other hand, and again, I keep seeing these deals, right? CeeDee for Chase and CeeDee for Jefferson. I thought this one was interesting. CeeDee, the 111 and the 311 for Justin Jefferson. So if you feel like, hey, if I have CeeDee, if you have Justin and you want CeeDee and a 111, 311, I still side with the Justin Jefferson on this side. I just think he's just too good. He's just too good of an athlete there. But I think that this was interesting. Maybe you guys have CeeDee, a late first and then a third, and you're just like, hey, let me go try to get Justin and see if it works. Like, to me, this is the asset you go use to get Justin, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, hey, you never know what someone might accept and might decline. Now, when we go to tier 3, this is where things get a little bit more, I wouldn't say tougher, but like, hey, where do we have these guys? So Jalen Waddle's for me at 5, wide receiver 8 last year, 15.3 points per game. I think if Tua didn't go down and that issue with the quarterback position, you'd probably see him get a little higher there. Garrett, when you look at Jalen, he's 25. Then you have Garrett Wilson at 23. It looks like he's about to get and I'm pretty high on Garrett. I have him at 6. Some people don't have him in the top 10. But this is before the Aaron Rodgers bump, or maybe, right? So Aaron Rodgers still at the time of this record is not there. It's pretty around a foregone conclusion he'll probably be there. So if he goes there, he's looking at this value, right? And I know he's wide receiver 21 last year, but Garrett Wilson's a top 10 asset, top 6. He's in tier 3 for me, and he's probably going to get in that tier 2 by the end of the season if he has a better improved quarterback play. And then you got T. Higgins, wide receiver 18, and again, 24 years old, average 14.9 points per game, tied to Joe Burrow. Maybe he goes somewhere else and gets a wide receiver 1 role. And if he does that, then his value is going to shoot up, right? So I think these 3 guys are in that tier. So tier 3 is Jalen Waddle, Garrett Wilson, and T. Higgins. You'll see their finishes in PPR. You'll see their points per game. Now let's look at what they've been traded for. So Jalen Waddle on the 24 first for Austin Eckler and Cooper Kupp. So there's some news out there. Cooper Kupp, as we know with Cooper, like the thing with Cooper, and I think he's a buy right now, but he's 30 years old, right? He's going to go get into that age cliff, and we're a little worried about that. Eckler we maybe requested a trade today and that would have big ramifications there. So maybe you have those 2 older assets and you're like, hey, well, I'm going to go tier up, get Jalen Waddle, get a first. Maybe I'm rebuilding. Maybe the guy that I'm trading him to is going to contend and he thinks Eckler and Kupp can put him over the top. Maybe you go try to do that, right? Then on the other hand, you're going to see this deal. Garrett Wilson, the 111 and the 202 for Breece Hall and Treylon Burks. Give me the Garrett Wilson side all day. I like Breece Hall. I like Treylon Burks. But I think Garrett Wilson's an elite athlete, so give me that over Burks. Hall, he's coming off the ACL. I don't mind Hall, though. Like, both sides here work for me. 111, 202, though, is perfect running back territory for a lot of these good running backs that are in this class. And so you could probably, as someone who does zero running back or anchor running back, you could probably get a running back that's, serviceable at that area if you can afford. So, for losing Breece, you get a Garrett Wilson, top guy right there, top 6. I'm all aboard that train. I think that's a good deal for Garrett and where he's at. And then I saw this one recently, T. Higgins for Saquon. Listen, I think Saquon, he obviously got, he got the franchise, so he'll be there for a year. I still think this could be a chance to pivot off of Saquon and go get T. And then, running backs and that value in Dynasty has just gone down. And so, like, if you can go get T. Higgins, if you have Saquon Barkley on your roster based on where the tiers are, I don't hate that deal. I think that's a good deal for T. And I think for Saquon, like, I think they're valued appropriately. If you can flip that asset and you're not going to have an aging running back on your roster, and then middle of the year, you're contending, and you can flip maybe your first for a different type of running back, or maybe you can collect an asset from somewhere else, that's where I would do it, right? That's where you want to kind of collect that value. Now, tier 4, we got Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver 7 last year, obviously at 24 years old. He has that value, 16.7 points per game. The Lions look like one of the best offenses in the NFL. I can't believe I just said that out loud, but I did. Then you have DK Metcalf. I'm still higher on DK, 26 years old, yes. Wide receiver 16 last year, 13.3 points per game. I just think there's a value there. They're bringing Geno back. They had a pretty good connection. Tyler Lockett's getting older. They might bring on some competition for targets, but I still find DK as a top 10 asset. Like, I still have him in that tier for me. I know some other guys might not like that, but to me, he's still in there at 26 years old, 3 years of elite production coming, and I'll put him in there. And I think just based on value, that's where you have to have him. Now, when you're looking at overall, here's some deals for them. Amon-Ra and Joe Burrow for Justin Jefferson on 102. I thought this was an amazing deal for both sides here. I see what both sides are looking for here. Justin Jefferson, elite wide receiver, and in the 102, probably a quarterback. And then you give up Burrow, but you get Amon-Ra St. Brown. But if you're looking for a quarterback, like if you need a quarterback really bad, you have Justin Jefferson in an early pick, but you need that Joe Burrow type. And then you get Amon-Ra, who probably would be a top 10, fantasy finisher. I get it. I get this side. I think for both sides, it works here. And if you have Amon-Ra and Joe Burrow, but hey, you're trying to rebuild or whatever the case may be. Even if you're trying to rebuild, I don't necessarily understand we're getting rid of Burrow. But if you want Justin Jefferson and you think, hey, I have a solid quarterback too. Let's say you had Deshaun, or maybe you have Allen, or maybe you're just Herbert. Like maybe you're just stacked at the quarterback position, and you're okay taking a little bit of a value dump on the quarterback too. But then you get an elite wide receiver, Justin Jefferson. I understand it. Then on this side, DK from Josh Jacobs, and I think with Josh Jacobs, and these are all recent trades. These are all happening in March, so this is recent. We're not talking about 2 months ago. This is actionable. So DK for Josh Jacobs. I'm taking DK all day for Josh Jacobs. I know where Josh Jacobs finished. Hey, they got Jimmy G coming to Oakland. Or not Oakland, man. I'm old now. Las Vegas. And so you're seeing like where that area. Give me Metcalf though. I think I just want that elite wide receiver. I don't want these aging running backs. And if you can do it, like we saw with the T. Higgins and Saquon, I think that's where you go. Right now, when we're going to tier 5, and this is where I had an interesting pool out there for some people. So I said, hey, what do we think of Devonta Smith? Right. So we're gonna have a Chris Olave, Drake London, Devonta, and I'm putting them in this 10, 11, 12, just based on age of my young guns. Right. So guys that just missed out: Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs. Right. JSN has not had a team yet, but he's probably out there too. Where do we put these guys that are kind of older? And where do we put them? Like, can we put Tyreek Hill and those guys? Let me know in the comments. Do we put Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs and those guys in the top 12? Or do we go with the young guns, right? Because the wide receiver position, when you see their value, it shifts a lot, guys. Like when you think about how quick these guys become top 12 elite athletes, it's fast. So you have Chris Olave here. I think he's still getting undervalued in some spots. Wide receiver 25 last year, but 13.2 points per game, gets a quarterback upgrade in Derek Carr. Sign me up for Chris Olave, especially where his value's at. I'm going to show you some trades. Drake London, wide receiver 31. I understand that the Atlanta offense, they brought in Johnny Smith. They got to get a quarterback upgrade. That's why I think Drake's going to hover around this late wide receiver 1, early, maybe high-end wide receiver 2. But I just think on perceived value, you have to have him at that 11 mark. And then Devonta Smith, I think, is the questionable one. So I ran a poll. I said, hey, is Devonta Smith the wide receiver 1? Let me know. I had over 3,500 people vote, and it was 52% yes, 48% no. So there's a lot of controversy about that. But I think in the end, I think 12 to 18 is very just, preference for you. Like, who do you want there, right? Like, are you going to put one of these older guys there, which I don't hate? You're going to put, Stephon Diggs and those guys there. If you want to, you can. If not, hey, Devonta, he finished at wide receiver 9 last year, high power offense. I still think he can earn targets with AJ Brown taking kind of the defense away. I think it's there. Now to kind of go through the value there, Chris Olave. So hey, here's where I'm thinking where Olave is getting value. Chris Olave for the 112 and David Njoku. Now, again, I'm on the Olave side here. Like, I get it with David Njoku. You think he can maybe be a top 10 asset. If I can get that and swing that somehow, I'm all aboard, because I'm seeing Olave go for like the 106, 107. If you can find that and pair the 112 with something to go get Olave, I would do that all day, right? Then you have Drake London on the other side. And there's a belief that Jerry Jeudy's going to have this big breakout year, but we still haven't seen it, right? We just haven't. So yeah, Jerry Jeudy a second and a third for Drake London. I think that's a smash for London side, right? The value there. I'm all aboard that, especially those late seconds and early thirds. If you follow my content enough, where those mocks are, where it's going there. Not necessarily anything where Drake London is concerned, right? And then the last one, Devonta Smith for the 104, I think is interesting. I think, on both sides, you're looking at a quarterback in that area or JSN, and you think JSN can be valued higher. But but this is his value. So I just wanted to show you his value so that you can go forward and say, hey, if I have Devonta, maybe I want to go get in that 104 mark and go take advantage. Or on the flip end, maybe I am sitting at the 104 and I value Devonta that high, or maybe I know I can maybe get if I'm trading a 104 for Devonta, I probably want something added to that. Maybe I can go get something added, and that's where the value is. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Went through the tiers. I kind of went through the rankings and try to give you some actionable advice, where it comes from. Let me know who's on the outside looking in. Where would you have those guys? I hope when you're looking at the tiers, always tier out your rankings so you know. And I highly recommend, like I was talking about at the beginning, if you have a Jefferson and Chase, don't tier down to wide receiver 2 levels. If you want to move those guys, you tier down to like tier 3, those guys that we looked at in that area, right? The Higgins, the Waddle, the Garrett Wilson. You don't tier down lower than that because you're just losing value. Tier down 1 tier or 2 and collect more assets. Don't short yourself. Don't fall in that trap of having to tier way down into that wide receiver 2 market to get picks. That's not what you do. You can still get picks added with elite talent, especially like Jefferson, Chase, and those guys, even AJ Brown and CeeDee Lamb. So I appreciate you guys. Hit that like and subscribe button. Hey, follow Football Guys. You know why we're here, to kind of help you win your leagues, and we're ramping up the Dynasty content for you guys. So appreciate you guys. We'll check you guys next time.